Just someone tell me if you can.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's hopefully this is open. Yes, it is. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let me reopen Zoom. Okay. 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 Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, let's. Okay. So this is my swing trading setup. What I'm watching generally on these is I'm always price action based first of all. So I'm looking for price action patterns. But the problem with price action is when you're watching 50, 100 stocks, unless you have the whole day, there's no way you can find setups without manually checking each chart if you're solely focusing on price action. But on the other hand, if you create proper tools, scanners, stuff like flow algo, stuff like the things that Thinkorswim lets you build, all that type of stuff, you can find so many plays easier compared to when you're not. So here's an example. So on this, you can see that Apple right now has a 1 hour squeeze, but I only know that because I'm looking at the chart. So I'll explain how the squeeze indicator works really quickly before let me open the chat. I cannot see the chat. That's weird. Yeah, I can't see the chat. So if Noah or someone can just tell me if anything's written in there for me to answer, I'd be happy to answer any questions. So TTM squeeze basically looks for the counter channels to be pulled like contracting inside the Bollinger Bands, which all that means in price action terms is price is squeezing. Price is becoming consolidating in a range. Price isn't moving as much. It's not making strong moves in either direction. So when the conditions are met for squeeze, what you'll see is it'll create red dots here. And as it releases, the dots come green. So if you take the indicator itself, it probably has a 50% win rate just trading off of the breakouts from the indicator. When you combine it with price action, you can find really, really good plays. So on that side, what I look for is I look for the stochastics crossing upwards, a squeeze being releasing, volume, and a price action pattern. And the stock to be above moving averages, but I don't have my moving averages on here right now. Okay, so the 9. So the price to be above the 9 moving average. I think this is a 9, right? Yeah, the 9 and 21. So on the left side, if you look, I have a squeeze daily column, a squeeze 4 hour column, a squeeze 1 hour column, and just a momentum column. So we'll talk about this one after. So on this, I put in all the stocks that I'm interested in trading. So my list is about 100, 120 long. It's different sectors, retail, all types of things, plus like everything I scalp, all of that stuff put in. So for example, all my swing trades come off the 1 and 4 hour and daily charts. So we'll start with the 1 hour since that's what I'm looking on Apple. So you can see is if you look, let's find Apple on this. Where's Apple? Apple. So Apple is in a 5-period squeeze. So this is what the yellow. I'll talk about the colors now. So the yellow color represents that the stock is in a squeeze on that time frame right now. So Apple is in a 5-period squeeze on Apple right now, which I have this on extended hours off, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with extended hours. You have 7 without. You have 5. So this basically represents the Apple squeezing. So we see that, and we see that Apple's in for the 4 hours in a 9-period squeeze. So let me go here to this chart. We have an even bigger squeeze on the 4 hour time frame. What this is telling me is when Apple breaks, it's going to have a nice run. We're having a squeeze on multi-time frames, first of all, and we're looking for a good play now to the upside. So now let me show you guys the squeeze I released. So this is telling me Qualcomm had a 4 hour squeeze, and it's 1 period into being released. Let's look at that. Qualcomm. So this is the type of trade I'm looking to take. It's squeezed for multiple periods. We get the squeeze pattern up here on the 4 hour, and we get a breakout. The reason why this one is, Noah, can you tell me, can you see which one I'm pointing to on the grid on the left?
Yeah, QCOM.
Okay, good. So Qualcomm, the reason why it's bright green is because it says ML, which I coded it, so it says means momentum long. The reason why it's showing me that is in the last two periods it had a breakout bar, which is this big green bar breaking out. So when I'm glancing at the grid on the side, what I can automatically see is we're having two time frames have a squeeze releasing, and we're seeing that on the 4 hour, there's a clear sign of momentum recently breaking out. So if I'm not swinging at the moment because of other problems and trying to get good at scalping, but if I was swinging, this is a trade I'd definitely be looking to take. Qualcomm's pushing to new highs. Stochastics are crossing over. It's above the moving average. The only concern here is we didn't get a volume spike, but volume should follow this soon into Monday. So let's look at for a few other setups that are momentum plays. NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is showing me at the end of the day, and this is real time. This isn't just after the market closes. This works real time. NVIDIA comes out of a squeeze on the 4 hour. It's releasing, and it shows a clear momentum bar right here. And this one. Both of these are momentum bars. So that's an example for these. So let's look at gold, which is light green. So all right, so let me, before I keep talking about the charts and showing you guys, let me just explain how the coloring fully works. So yellow means it's in a squeeze. Bright green means it has momentum and it's near the high of day. The number next to this is the percent from high or low of day based on the direction of the squeeze release. So this means that Qualcomm was in 2% of the high of day at market close. And for example, NVIDIA was 0.04% from the high of day. It was literally rallying into the close. So the reason why this is so important to me is that the majority of runners, a majority of plays that are going to give you a gap up need strong momentum into the close, need to be near their highs. So I look for that. So if we look at this one, okay, so here's EA. I actually will look for the chart for this one. So red means it's releasing to the downside. MS means momentum short, ML means momentum long. Next to it, if it's not yellow, it's the amount of period since the squeeze was fired. So these squeezes fired just one period ago. So for example, look at EA on the 1 year daily chart. So here what we're seeing is squeeze is finally releasing because it hasn't been making strong moves. It had a 1 period squeeze and it's releasing. I don't like this too much because the squeeze was only a singular period, but it's pushing to the downside. It's red because it has momentum, but it's not bright red because it's not close to the low of day. I don't think there's anything bright red right now, but okay. So does anyone have any questions up to this point on how to use this? Because this is much easier than a scanner and it's real time. It updates on its own on the side of your screen. You can find day trades off of this. You can find swing trades off of this. I know guys that day trade solely off of this. We'll look for squeezes releasing on the 1 and 4 hour and trade them. So does anyone have any questions right now? Before I keep going on this.
Wait, what's the so what's the S4H? Oh, squeeze 4 hours, squeeze 1
Squeeze 4 hours, squeeze 1 hour, and squeeze daily, yes.
Those are for the time frames.
Yeah, different time frames. And then on the right is momentum. So this looks for 10. So actually, I'll just show the code for this one. Okay. So this just looks for a candle that's bigger than average in size, and that's within 30% of the high for long. And it looks for the same thing on the short side. It looks for a candle bigger than average, and it looks for a candle that's closing near its low. That's what momentum is gauged at. So that's how you use this in general. The dark green and dark red are plays where the squeeze is releasing, but there's no momentum and it's not closing near the high or low of day, which means it's a potential play. For example, we'll look at INTC on the daily. INTC 4 hour.
Yeah, you
So
can't
we
really,
get
you can't
what
really,
happened?
can you?
Oh, so you should be looking for a yellow or green. So what you want to be looking for scalping, I wouldn't use this too much. For day trading, what I would suggest, I was telling my brother about how to use this for day trading. What you're looking for is not really daily. Dailies might take too long or fake you out, but on the 1 hour and 4 hour, you're looking for something like, for example, if you see previous night you're planning. So you see that EA is in a 12 period squeeze on the 4 hour time frame. What you would be looking for here is you would say, okay, I will trade EA short below here and long above the top of the range. My target's here and my target's the high of the range. So that type of thing. So this is mainly so you can find these plays and you can take them as they break major ranges and scalp it or day trade it. I would suggest you scalp a port, you day trade a port. If it's green, what happens is, for example, so Snap had a run up yesterday. That's what this is telling me on Friday. Snap pushed into the close. So what this means for me is this can make a potential continuation play for a day trade. It's releasing recently. It's in a 9-period squeeze and it showed momentum today. This is what I really like for a day trade. It's in a daily squeeze. It's been in a range for a while and it's finally showing major momentum, which is what this is telling me, into the close. So what I'd be doing is I'd be watching for this to break out of this area and play along up over in the 22.4, 22.6 area. So that's what this basically means in terms of the breakouts. So I would stick to this 90% for swinging, but if you're a day trader, you can find a lot of good plays using this, but I wouldn't suggest you have as many stocks as I have. You would want to have a focus list. For example, I'd go to my scalp list. So now you know what you're looking at. So on this, you can quickly say, okay, BA is in a 1-period squeeze on the daily, Apple, AMD is in a 1-period squeeze on the daily, Apple's in a huge squeeze, I can watch that. You would know that NVIDIA has momentum already. It could be a continuation play for the next day, that type of thing. But the key is you want to be looking for stuff that's yellow or first period green on a time frame and play those. If you want to play the pullback, you can play first period greens. For example, you can play NVIDIA on a pullback on Monday. You could wait for NVIDIA to pull back a little bit to the 520 area, and as it dips, you buy it. And this last column is just saying there's momentum. So Roku's not releasing from anything. Roku's been running. It's been running now for 4 days, but this is telling me there's still momentum into the close. So this makes it a potential watch, especially for scalpers. I'm looking for anything with momentum for scalping. So is there any other questions about this and how you use this? I'll be sharing the code with everybody who was on the webinar and all the active and proficient, that group after this. So if you're not active and proficient and you're on the webinar, just like DM me so I make sure I share it with you also.
So if it has nothing, then that's like no trade.
If it's blank, what it basically means is there's no recent squeeze release and there's no squeeze going on right now. But the reason why I added this last column is because a lot of the time you get things like Roku that have been running for 2-3 days, which could potentially make good continuation plays, but have already fully released their squeeze. For example, a lot of people, I know that Nord Trades played Roku breaking out from here, from this range as the squeeze is releasing, which is why I say the first period release is really important. So that's why if you're a day trader, you plan the night before. You look at this, and back then Roku was in a 16, 15 period squeeze on the 4-hour chart. You would have seen that, and you would have set alerts, and you would have been like, okay, if it breaks this point, I'm taking it long. If it breaks this point, I'm taking it short. That type of thing. So
What determines a period?
what determines, like, what do you mean the period? Like the number here, the yellow number?
Like what how does it get 1 period or 2 periods? Like how does it stay in the period? Because it has to fit a certain criteria, right?
Yeah, so basically a squeeze is whenever, I don't want to put all the indicators on, but the definition of the way TTM squeeze works is it looks for the Keltner channels to be contracting inside the Bollinger Bands, which represents a momentum squeeze and price action squeeze. So it's the combination of 2 different indicators, and then the code counts how many periods that criteria has been met for. It's really long, so I don't want to explain how this works right now, but it basically, I wrote this, so it basically makes sure that like we check it's been contracting for a certain period of time. And it puts it here so it's quickly accessible. This is just, instead of you having to look at a chart and be like, okay, it broke out here. Here's the pattern. This tells you this is a potential play, this is a squeeze, this could possibly release, that type of thing. So it makes it much quicker. So any other questions? Because I want to go over one other thing. I think I'll save the tape examples for next time, unless if you guys want me to do the tape examples now, write it in the chat. If not, I'm going to go over dip buying using the same system. So just write in the chat really quickly which one you guys want to do, because I don't want to run too late. So okay, yeah, then I'll go through the dip buying stuff. Okay, so we'll start on the daily ones. This is a little easier to explain, but this is really good, especially if you're if you have a portfolio This is really good, especially for investing. So you look to add. I know a guy who trades a multi-million-dollar portfolio doing just this. He'll add on dips, and this just tells you where to add. So for example, I'm gonna put in. I'll just use my scalp list for this, I guess. Let me see if there's anything good on there. Okay, we only have one, so I guess I'll use my full list. Okay, so we'll start with daily. So UNH. See. So basically, what this is telling you is on the daily, this pulled back hard, and now it's bouncing back, and you're looking to get long off support. So all you have to do is when this tells you this is a possible play, you just have to look for entries. Wait, I need to fix one thing on this. This is messing something up. Give me a second. Okay, never mind. I'm not doing this now. Okay. So let's look at XOM. What this is telling you, the color's messed up, but I need to fix the coloring. But you see how this says E-bounce? This means that it's an early bounce. It's a bounce happening, but it hasn't confirmed, meaning it hasn't broke the moving average yet. If it says C-bounce, that means it's confirmed a bounce and it's broke the moving average, confirming momentum back to the upside. So if you look at Walmart on the daily, the reason why this is showing up as bounce is because it took a major dip intraday and now it's coming back. So that's why it shows either setups like this or it shows longer period bounces. Now we'll look at Target. Target has a dip buy on both 4 hour and 1 hour. So on the 1 hour, you're getting a pullback to support, and now it's starting to bounce and pulling back over the moving average. The reason why it shows up is because this green candle shows momentum finally popping up. And if you do it on the 4 hours, it'll look like the same thing. What else? WM and Amazon. Oh, I didn't know Amazon had one. Okay, let's look at Amazon. Amazon on the 1 hour. Okay. So basically what's happening here is Amazon's pulling up and it's holding support. So that's what this is telling you. You could possibly add, if I was doing this without using this grid, my add area would be this area for adding at support, looking for a strong move. So the key here is my thing only allows stocks which are above their 200-day moving average, 200-period moving average, which is long-term uptrend. If not, I wouldn't suggest it buying because it's just not as strong a strategy to buy something that's not in a long-term uptrend. But what you're seeing is this repetitively can show you possible plays to either side. Okay, so we'll look at another one. We'll do a few more. So Facebook. So Facebook, same exact thing. You're getting a pullback, momentum's confirming, it's starting to push to the upside. Let's see. So these are easier to explain, but these setups are really, really good, especially if you're trading stocks. With options, they work, just not as well because I don't know how long it will take for this to bounce back. I know that it will bounce back, but I don't know how long. Let's look at Visa. So Visa, same thing. You're getting I can't zoom out. Okay. So you're getting a pullback to support and it's bouncing again. So these are looking for bounces off support repetitively. And this can find you a lot of good plays, especially if you want to add into long-term positions. So for example, if I was looking to buy Amazon up for another leg up, this would definitely be my add point. This would be my first add point. Stop out below the low. And this gives you really good risk reward because your target is the highs. And your stop loss is right like a few dollars below your stops. My next add point would be down here. And this basically just tells you if possibly you could be in one of these areas right now. And you added these points looking for legs up. For example, I'll give you guys a trade I took off of this but didn't hold. So my dip buy thing went off here as Apple dipped down this day with the gap down. And I added here, and as it came down, I added again, but I sold at the top of the range. I was trading shares. So I missed the whole move up. I wasn't expecting it to make such a big move up, but it did. So that's the power of just buying and holding. The problem is with options, you don't know the time frame. I don't know if this is going to take a day, 2 weeks, 5 weeks to break out. But with stocks, you just buy and hold with your stop loss at the lower area. So I think that's it for me for today. If anybody has any other questions, let me know. Write them in the chat or unmute yourself and just ask. So I think I'm gonna. Emiliano, Noah, do you guys have anything to add?
Nothing particular.
I don't see anybody going. Would you go